I mean, we identify as this is my body and I take care of my body, but it's really when you take a step back, it's like you're taking care of something that was gifted to you to be a steward of during your time here on earth. And
To
so
do a great
it,
work.
Welcome to the Wholeness Way podcast, hosted by Marcus Gradney, motivational speaker, author, and green powered mental health advocate. Now, let's dive into this episode.
Because my vegan journey started kind of interestingly. It was more like, I think it was God more than anything, but it's like
yep.
I strategically started taking things like dairy away from my because I couldn't really digest it after like I'm 44 right now. But after 30, really, it was like 30 to the day. Dairy
You
was like,
look great, man. For
nope.
44. You look amazing.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But dairy was gone, and then it was like, oh, I really couldn't digest pork. But that's what I wanted to talk about today when I said the intersection of faith. Most of my bad eating habits, I don't know if I'm gonna say that like publicly like this because I never want to condemn our faith, but most of my bad eating habits came from the church. I mean, pig feet, hog maws,
Mm,
chitlins, ribs, fried chicken, you know.
yeah.
And it wasn't just food. So that's why I was when I wrote you the email, I was talking about faith and food. I think a lot of what we have in the church is almost a misunderstanding that food is not just for like love and enjoyment, it's fuel. But in the church, it's like, oh
Absolutely.
man, this is my mac and cheese passed down from my grandmother's grandmother. And that's okay for some people in moderation, but for people like
Exactly.
ourselves, it just doesn't work. Like my mother and father on both sides have passed from like cancer, heart disease, all kind of conditions. So when that started happening, and I was like, I think it was 34 when I lost the last person. I'm like, man, I am really the
Mm.
last of the Mohican. I
Oh,
have to do
wow.
something. And the change that I made was my diet. And like you said, I started looking better. My skin started becoming more clear. Like I can
Yeah,
play
you're
with my
glowing.
kids, you know? I could go to
Yep.
Egypt and
Yep.
not be tired running around with my daughter after like half a day. I have to sleep on midday. I still take a midday nap now, don't get me wrong, but I don't have to take a midday nap like I used to. You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah. No, you're glowing, man. Your
Thank
skin
you,
is
man.
glowing. I could
I
tell.
appreciate that, brother. That's
Yeah.
the inner work I'm trying to do.
Yeah, no, I could tell it's been making a fantabulous difference for you, and that's amazing, man, because it's more than just like you said, more than just food, it's fuel. Like you use the right word. You know,
Yes.
it's nutrition, it's fuel, and seeing it that way. And a lot of the community members, and I see it too in our church. We just had the men's conference. You
Oh,
saw
I
me
saw
post about
that.
that
Man,
not
thank
too
you for
long
sending me
ago.
those clips too, by the way. Those are awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, my pleasure. But I know there was something that didn't align with me with that conference. Everything about that was amazing.
Right?
I just didn't stay for the after the conference is over. They're like, join us for the barbecue lunch. We're gonna be doing pulled pork sandwiches. And I mean, I didn't say anything. I just was grateful, like, oh, thank you. I appreciate the invitation. But I just, after the conference was over, I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and make my way out. So I
Yeah.
didn't stay for that part, and that part didn't align with me. But no judgment at all to the brothers that were there and
Of course not. Why
enjoying.
why
It's
would
about
you?
the no, at all, at all. It's communion and fellowship, and that's the
Community,
what it's all
exactly.
about. Yeah,
Absolutely,
and
100%.
obviously the food part of it is where that, like you mentioned, with growing up in your church, and there was that mismatch. At least you see that
Yeah.
now. Back then you didn't, because I know I
Oh, of
I
course.
didn't grow up
Look,
in.
look, I would go to the store. It's so funny saying this now, but there was this big jar. It was like, I think it was like a pinkish purple, and it just looked like a vat. And you reach in, get your little pig lip, put it in a plastic bag, pay that little $2, and you're out.
Yeah,
Like little, just a
no,
big
no.
piece of pork, man. It was, oh, the day.
Yeah, no, that definitely was. I mean, I get it though. And then there's that mismatch, but in us leaving the vegan lifestyle, we see that, and we have a different perspective. Without any judgment, like we said earlier, it's
No
more,
judgment at all.
not at
So
all, not
I'm
at
gonna
all.
I'm gonna bring you in real quick because this is about to get good. I
Yep.
already feel it heating up. Welcome, Healing Co-op fam. I have Luis here. He's my digital vegan fitness instructor. He helped keep me on the path. And I've told y'all a story before. I didn't know black people could be vegan. So the first person I saw was Tabitha Brown. Because again, my lived experience, Luis, is Luis or Luis? How would you like me to?
Luis, you're right.
Luis.
You're
Okay,
right,
Luis.
Luis.
Luis, is that like unhealthy? I'm trying to. use language that's not judgmental, but it's like the way we ate was community. The way we ate was culture. The way we ate was how we had already always done it for generations. So fried chicken, hog maws, pig lips, pig feet, all kinds of ribs. Even yesterday, I thumbs up and hearted my brother because he's cooking chicken, grilled chicken on barbecue chicken on the grill and sausages and all of these things. But I could see how much joy he had in it. And my joy is like, I don't necessarily love everything he's eating per se, but I'm happy that my brother is out because he had problems in the past. He had been inside, so he's out now. He's been out for 5 years, and so I'm happy that he's in community doing his things because those are
Yeah.
my big pillars as far as the healing co-op community go. It's basically mind, body, and spirit in alignment to bring us to a higher level of understanding. But again, I just looked at TD Jakes the other day, passing out in front of his congregation, and I'm like, man, Lord, I wish he had the wisdom to be better for his congregation. I forgot the author, but I'll put it in the show notes, and I will also send you a link to this book because I love what is it called? I love a lot of Christian philosophers, but one was it's not the wholeness way. That's my thing. But basically, it was a monk who dedicated himself to the Lord so much. He said, "Lord, I'm a wretched peasant, and I can't do no right. So what I'm going to do is every day I'm going to pray, I'm going to focus, and I'm going to intentionally live for you." He had gotten such great results that everybody started following after him, and he's like, "No, no, I don't want any of this. I just want to serve you, Lord. I just want to be your vessel." So that's one book that comes to mind when I think of T.D. Jakes, and another one was of this other philosopher. And again, I'll put it all in the show notes and I'll email you as well. I apologize to you, Lord, because I killed the horse before it had really got his full gallop, and I killed the steed that you had christened to do this work. And so
Mm.
when I think of T.D. Jakes and I think of this other book, oh, it's going to drive me crazy that I can't remember it right now, but and I read it every year, but because it's so simple. And Brother Thomas, thank you. That's his name. So if you ever want to look him up, I'll look it up and I'll send you a
All
link
right.
from Amazon. But Brother Thomas, his focus was to just serve the Lord and to just be a diligent service. But unlike some people in the faith, it was with his whole heart, his whole being, his whole understanding. Like we say a lot of times, but we don't always practice. And I look at someone like T.D. Jakes and I'm like, I feel bad because he could have lost his life. And I don't know his struggles, I don't know his health conditions, but to pass out like that in front of your congregation, it made me think of my father. Because my father, Christmas Day 1999, did the same thing. He was driving his taxi cab. He stopped the taxi cab, opened the door. He felt something going on, keeled over. I flew in from Atlanta to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where he was. 3 days later, he died. My hero, this strong,
Oh
tough
man.
guy who really I never saw cry or anything was gone because he lived a sedentary life. He was in a taxi cab. He was a giver. He cared about everybody, but he didn't eat well. He really didn't eat well. My mother, she got cancer. She had a lot going on, but she drank 2, 3 Diet Cokes a day. And again, this is no judgment to them, but it's just
Right.
me trying to lead a healthier lifestyle for my kids because I have 3 kids. I have 2 boys and a girl and just
Blessing.
doing a little bit better and really reaching out to people like you who are a little bit further along than I am so I can learn and then pass on that information back down and each one teach one type of philosophy.
Of course, and that's what it's all about, and like you named it just right, each one teach one, and we're all in different chapters and different steps on our journey, and I'm happy to be able to be one to share my knowledge and experience because I'm also in the same boat as you. I have other people, mentors that I follow
Yep.
that I learn from as well. And when I first started, of course, learning and taking it all in, but it does make a difference. And we want to be because you're in this. You're also a teacher and a mentor for others, even if you
I
don't
am.
know
I
it.
am. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. So just teaching the lifestyle and the way to approach it is and how it can change one's life because like you said people are like your parents as an example really good
Yes.
humble soulful loving
Caring.
people
Yep.
and unfortunately in many cases where their life maybe could have been cut shorter than it could have been because of diet and lifestyle and so there could be more done in one's life when that aspect of it's not the only thing by any means.
No,
There's
not
much
at
more to
all. Not at
living,
all.
but it does make a difference as far as, longevity and energy and being able to do good works throughout your life. just by taking care of your physical, which physical, mind, body, spirit. It's not just about the
No,
physical,
no,
you
no.
know,
That
just,
that's why that's those are my core three tenets. It's just
yep,
it's well, okay. So let me start here because we're about to get all the way down the rabbit hole.
yep.
Introduce yourself. Tell me how you got started. And what I'm most impressed about, and going back to the dinner with Barbie, was like, how did you as a teenager like find this lifestyle and like stick with it all this time? I don't stick with most things. So to be a teenager and then come to this stage, and even if you have some hiccups, some start stops, whatever, what what convinced you way back then and coming into now, and then we're gonna weave into faith and have conversation about it and all of that good stuff.
So what? Yeah, I'm not sure. Is that what Barbara told you that?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I actually,
No, Barbie told me
uh-huh,
like so basically all her life, the whole time she's known you. You know what I mean? You've been
right.
vegan. So I'm like, well, dang, he can't be more than like 30. So he must. I'm just assuming here. He must have
Oh,
been
I
like a
see. I
teenager
actually,
because you look really, really young. Because even when you post those pictures, you look really, really young. You know?
right. So
Oh,
I'm 41, gonna be 42 this
like,
year.
yeah, too now, brother.
Yeah,
Okay, high
yeah,
five.
yeah. Yeah,
High
of
five for the good
course.
looking
40s
40 year
Club
old.
right here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you too. You as well. When you said 44, I'm like, oh, right on. I want to
Yes,
look like that at
sir. Yes,
44 too.
sir.
So I actually went vegan in 2007. So I was 20, gonna be 24, when I went vegan. So
Okay.
yeah, it's been what we're going on over 17 years now,
Wow. That's
and
almost
it's
two
been a
decades. That's
learning,
amazing.
yeah, it's been a learning experience, and I really never looked back, honestly. Since when I first started, it was a learning experience, an eye-opening experience. For some reason, even growing up, going back to talking about teenager, I wasn't vegan growing up by any means. I grew
Oh,
up
okay.
on in a Mexican household,
Oh,
with
okay. So
amazing food. Mom cooked the best,
tamales and like,
tamales, pozole, and
yeah. Oh man,
all the
y'all got some
good
amazing soups too. I had a Mexican fish soup when I used to live back
siete
at home.
mares, which
Yeah, that
yeah,
was so good.
uh,
Except for the
co-
fish head in the soup. That was kind of weird, but it was really, really good. It tasted excellent. It was amazing.
yeah. So I grew up on that, and of course, the standard American fare, fast food. Going to the fast food burger spot, and I was huge on dairy growing up. I was just
Oh
telling
wow. Yeah,
my
of
wife
course.
the other day how when I used to work as a in food service, they had those big walk-in fridges, and
Oh yeah, you just grab your thing
on
of
my
milk.
breaks,
Yep.
yup, I would walk in and just chug one or two of those like those school size
Yep,
carton
yep,
of
those little
milks.
milk cartons when they were really
Yeah,
cartons.
yeah, and I was huge on cheese. I mean, just huge. Like my favorite pizza was just extra cheese. I don't care about toppings, just pour
Yep,
on the
yep.
cheese. And so that was me, and so I became overweight after college and just gained a lot of weight in college. And I was at one point about 210 plus pounds. Even
Wow.
though I was active, the crazy thing is I wasn't really sedentary. I was like playing soccer and I love basketball and I was pretty active, but just the eating and that way of living, the way I
Yeah.
was eating, I just ballooned up. And my cousin who was living with me at that time, around 2006, he started doing it first. He kind of told me about it, and I was just like, "Oh, okay, that sounds interesting. It sounds cool." And I'd always been growing up interested in like eating healthy, even if I didn't know what that really meant. But I
Right.
was always interested, like, oh, our school lunches has bean burritos, and they're supposed to be good for you because they don't have all this grease and meat. So I'm gonna
Exactly.
do that,
Wow.
So I was always interested in eating healthy. I
Yeah.
just didn't really know the path, And
Right.
then at that time, my cousin was with us and living with us, and he was introducing me to the vegan lifestyle. A couple of our circle of friends during that time were also following the vegan diet, and that's how I kind of came to learn about it. And a buddy of ours told us about a movie called Eating. It's called Eating, and
Oh,
it
so
talked
eating
about
for
all
you was
about
what the hell for me.
there you go. And
Yeah.
I've seen What the Health too. And
Yeah,
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 that was another
yeah.
good one. So
That's a good
Eating, it
one.
was called Eating, and it was promoting the RAVE diet, RAVE, which
Uh-huh.
it was an acronym. I don't remember exactly what it stood for, but it was basically all about the plant-based diet and the benefits for health, environment, animals, and just the overall well-being. And to me, it just like it was a no-brainer. I was like, man,
100%.
this makes sense. There's no debating it. And I just pretty much from one day to the next, it was that easy for me to the very next day to just go vegan. And then
Wow.
obviously I just dug deep and read and learned as much as I could. And
Yep.
it's been a
Yep.
journey ever
I'm in that
since.
learning stage right now. I'm deep in that right now, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've tried, at one point I was really big on raw vegan and eating mostly fruit and
Doing the
juices
shakes.
and smoothies
Yep,
and
that's
all
me.
that. And
I'm right there. That's where I'm at right now.
yeah, so it's been an amazing learning experience, and I'm still learning more and continue to increase my knowledge as far as plant-based nutrition and seeing it more at this in recent years as fuel for fitness. Because that's
100%.
I've always been into fitness. That was one thing that changed for me too, going vegan is I lost over 50 pounds
Wow.
in my journey, and it
You look
just
good
got
though,
more
man.
into
When I see you in the
fitness.
gym, I'm like really encouraged because that's my thing. Like, so today I went to the doc and I was like, because everybody around me, this is going to be funny. I've already posted this, but this is going to be funny to hear me to say it out loud and have a conversation about it. Was that I went to the doc today for my annual physical. I typically do it in 3 parts. So today is like the initial talking about how I feel. I'm like, actually, doc, I feel great. I feel better than I felt in many, many years. But my concern is everybody around me and the people I care about the most, my best friend, my wife, are like, I'm getting really, really skinny. And I'm like, I don't know if I look skinny. I guess I'm way skinnier than I used to be. And I'm like, can you just look at my charts and tell me where we started like 2.5 years ago to now? Like, am I? And he looked and he's like, oh, okay, so you're at 215 then, 215 then. And today you're at 155. And I'm like, is that because that's a big drop? Like that's concerning, I think. And he did all the math. He's like, actually, you were at the lowest part of the obesity track
Yeah,
before. But what's funny is he never talked to me about it. We never had any conversations. It was like you're this is a little high, your that is a little high. Let's cut back. But it was never like lose weight. Because I guess if I had gotten higher in the like 10 or 12 percentile or whatever, it'd have been different. But we never had that conversation. I didn't look at him side eye, but I thought about it like, wait, you're my doc back then too. But it goes
yeah,
to show that just like you said, you're just eating a lot of unhealthy things and it produced a certain weight and a look and a physique. But those around you probably wouldn't even know like it was unhealthy because that was the lifestyle. So what I'm going to ask you
exactly.
about next, because this is where I am. So I want to know someone who's further along on the journey. How do you do it with your wife? And family members and like outside of even the church and like just basically abstaining because at family reunions you can't abstain, you know what I mean? Or if you have people over, how do you balance everything?
Yeah, so it was a learning experience because at the very beginning and even in recent years, I'm not going to say like when I went vegan, I've been 100% perfect
Yeah,
the entire way
of
because it's
course
just
not.
you
You're
stumble and you
human. Yeah,
fall and
I
you
would expect that
learn.
because you're a human being.
Yeah, so sometimes, when I've been in family gatherings, there's something that I probably knew had dairy in it and I had it anyways because,
Exactly.
it was communion and fellowship and we're hanging out and it's family time. So haven't been like the perfect.
So we're vessels, we're imperfect vessels. You know what I'm saying? Even who was it that was that David? Yeah, David. David, whose temple couldn't even be built in his lifetime because he had done so much dirt that his
Right.
children had to continue that legacy. He did dirt, but he was still God's vessel, and he loved the Lord with all his heart, soul, mind, and understanding. And that's me too. And I think that the vegan journey is to me my evolution of the life that he's given me to lead. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's more than just a physical. It's an overall evolution. This is like you mentioned, it's your temple, it's your body. It's actually a gift. That's funny you
Oh,
mentioned
that's
that. My
good.
wife and I
That's good.
were having a talk about this last night, and we had already spoken about this through I read through your email and I actually read her your email. And before I made my little notes, she's the one that brought up, you know what, this is actually it's my temple and I need to take care of it. She was talking about she's doing through our church, she's doing a step challenge that runs through September 1st,
Yes.
to raise like money for a cause that they're doing.
Uh-huh.
And she mentioned how it's a temple, and I was like, exactly. And that's one thing that we're gonna discuss. I mentioned that our chat today, that this is a temple and it's a gift. It's
It
not
is a
like this is
gift. It is a
it's not like this is my.
gift.
I mean, we identify as this is my body and I take care of my body, but it's really when you take a step back, it's like you're taking care of something that was gifted to you to be a steward of during your time here on earth. And
To
so
do a great
it
work.
exactly. And so part of that is caring for that temple.
Yes.
And we learn, we make mistakes, we learn, we know how
Absolutely.
to do
Again, no
better.
judgment, and I'm not like trying to put anybody down, but the Bible says, or I don't know, because sometimes I get these two things conflated. What the Bible says and what my pastor said growing up, let the works that I have done speak for me. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
those works cannot continue to move on if the vessel that it's working through is no longer here. You know what I'm saying? That's why then that must also become a priority. I think sometimes in our faith, it's hard to understand that we must take care of ourselves first. We must put God as the head, but we must take care of ourselves, our body, our mind, get sleep, drink enough water, get enough sleep, drink enough water, and make sure that we're totally maintenance well enough so that we can articulate the word. Because if we're going to go out and preach the gospel and witness and all of these things, how are we going to do that if we're tired and broken down and in the bed?
Exactly,
So we can be
exactly.
look, we can pray for the sick and shed in, but we don't always have to be the sick and shed in. You feel me?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you're gonna do your work daily, which is, and I see it as my duty to be a someone who shares God's love and
Yes, 100%.
in the thoughts that I think and the words that I speak and the actions that I do,
Yes.
whether I'm with one person by myself or with 100 people, it doesn't matter. And if I'm gonna do that and show up as my best self every day, then it's got to be I got to be right here by spending time with the Lord first above all
Good.
else, and
That's
then
good.
doing in my actions throughout the day is okay, did I, drinking my water, staying hydrated, doing my exercise, eating my food and my fuel, my nutrition, and taking care of myself. That way I can show up every day and do that work because it's a daily thing.
It
It's a
is.
daily
It
thing.
is. I know because when I talk about being a vegan to people, it almost feels like they think it's a cult or something. Like I'm supposed and low key, I do fit a lot of the stereotypes, but it's not necessarily who I am as a person. Like I do like yoga, I do like walks, I do like being outside or whatever. But I'm not like this new age. I'm not separate from who I was when I grew up, who I was as a young person, and the man that I'm becoming today are the same individual with evolution in between. You know what I'm saying? Nothing has really changed. I don't know if you've ever dealt with those stereotypes or those stigmas, and like how do you personally like
In the
overcome that?
beginning,
Again,
yeah, in the beginning, yeah, it's concern about, well, where do you get your protein, or
protein.
how are you gonna, how are you gonna get this and how are you gonna get that, or aren't you gonna miss this food or that food? And honestly, nowadays, I don't really, even from family members and close friends, it really because it's so much more prevalent now everywhere you go, and
True,
especially in
true,
mainstream places.
true,
You
true.
see now, you see vegan options,
Yes.
plant-based option.
Yes.
Even like the typical fast food restaurant will have some kind of plant-based option nowadays, and people are being exposed to it even if they don't follow it at all or they're not vegan at all. They just see it in mainstream media or out there, out and about in their social life that it's no longer in the fringes. It's no longer like you're vegan. There's, of course, there's still
Right.
people who react and kind of like, well, what is that? How do you, and they still ask those questions that you
Yep.
probably heard at the beginning of your journey, but it's everywhere now, and I'm seeing it even at the grocery stores.
Yeah.
There's
Well, you have to be
vegan.
careful, Luis. I don't know if you've experienced this, but recently I'm like, it's vegan and it's natural, but some of these preservatives are when you look them up, they're not that great. So at the grocery store, because I initially when most of the products came on the market, they were very, very good. But what I learned is particularly I like Beyond Meat. Now I think it's probably one of the better ones on the market. But they
Right.
start having all these other products, and I was like, y'all are not sticking to the same standards as you were with this original product. So just an FYI, this is something I've noticed.
Ah,
If
okay.
you've noticed that as well.
I read labels and I'm picky about
Yep,
that,
yep,
and
yep,
I do so
yep.
I do see that and look for minimally processed or stuff with a couple of ingredients that I know I can read, and I'm not, if it's like
Exactly.
a giant paragraph stuff, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm okay here and there once in a while, or if I'm out, at a restaurant, or I know that they're gonna have a
Yeah, I'm not
vegan
tripping
option,
like
and
that.
it's fine. But yeah,
Yeah.
I honestly don't see it now too much, and especially even in travels when I've gone places internationally or even within the US, there's always options, and I still get the question here and there. Well, what are you gonna have? Don't even worry. There are always. It's rare
There's
nowadays.
always a
It's
salad.
rare.
And low key, I
Yeah.
love a good salad, man. I can make a salad pop. I just need a
Oh
little bit
yeah.
of lettuce. And if it doesn't have spinach, can we add some spinach on there? Can we add maybe a little bit of kale? Can we add some tomatoes or whatever? And a lot of times they'll let you, and you can really make an amazing salad and it tastes fantastic. And you feel and you feel fueled and everything. So no, I think there's a lot of
Absolutely.
options.
Yeah. So it's not. It's really a non-issue. honestly. And now, if anything, it's more online where you'll get random comments, people saying something like, "You got to have meat," and I'm just like, scroll next. I'm not going to entertain. If it's a genuine question, then I'll entertain
No,
it.
no, I
Like,
know because that's so.
yeah,
So for those that don't know, for the audience, I'll bring y'all back in a little bit. Luis and I met online through his sister's sister, right? I mean, his wife's sister. What the heck? His
my
wife's
wife's sister, yeah, my
sister.
sister-in-law, yeah.
Who just was talking to me at the beginning of my journey because I was like, I'm all about resources and I love the community. It is so amazing. I found vegan bodybuilders, yourself, a vegan
hmm
nutritionist and fitness influencer, and everybody's really just wanting to give and love. And that's one thing that I do want to highlight about the community that I don't think is completely transparent is like how helpful people are, how people just really want you to be better because it feels like when you're doing this, everyone really is on the same team. They're on the same road. They're on the same journey. They're trying to be better, trying to live longer. My slogan is I want to leave a greener, cleaner, and more healed planet. And that's what I'm doing with
Mm,
my journey. But
that's
yeah, I
beautiful. I
don't know
love
what you
that.
have. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it is about contributing. And when I've looked at we're talking about we met online, social media, and you're the type of connection and person online that I'm gonna follow and connect with because I want these type of people not only in my circle here in person in my life and where I live and things like that, but online. It's also like I need to monitor who I'm connecting with, who's my circle
That's a
online
good
because
point.
there's a lot of amazing vegan athletes and teachers and
Yes,
educators and people, and
yes,
these are the type of people
yes.
that I want to connect with. And I don't really vibe with the let me tell everyone that they're wrong for not being vegan crowd.
Man,
I just and I see that and I see it and I just to me it's not my thing. That's not how I approach it. And so I don't really like connect with those people or have them in my circle. Not because I don't agree with what they're saying. It's just that's not the way I approach it. It's not like activism and you're wrong if you're doing this and you're destroying your health and the planet and all this and
and it's
I,
like
I, I,
you
t I switch it and look at the positive of it and like, you know what? Hey,
exactly.
here's what you can do. And you don't eat vegan, but you're looking to include more plant-based foods.
Come on
Cool.
now.
Here's how you can do it. Here's
Boom.
exactly how you can do it. And no, and now I've helped someone who maybe is not vegan, maybe they still eat some animal products, but now they're including more plant-based sources of food in their diet. And who knows, maybe that plants the seed for in the future they decide to go full vegan.
Yes,
And
yes,
that's
yes,
my approach. And those
yes.
are the type of people that I like yourself that I surround myself with.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, and it's like I tried to I'll try as you were talking, I was thinking like, man, I want to articulate that point really well and put a button on it because it to me like you said, I love what they're doing, and I love the thought behind it, and I love the energy that they put into really the research. And man, some of these videos, I'm like, golly, where'd you get this slaughterhouse video from Cameroon or wherever? I mean, yeah, but that's why when I emailed you, I said faith-based, lead with love. That's the thing I think that they're missing because I
hmm
while I understand that content, even me being vegan, when I watch it, it makes me feel icky. It makes me
hmm
feel shocked and afraid. And if I told somebody this once about witnessing, because he's like, how are you so effective at witnessing or whatever? I said, because I'm people first. If they just came from the bar, if they just came from the prostitution house or wherever, because in Germany here it's legal, I'm just talking to a brother or a sister, primarily brother, because the way we did it in the church I used to go to is men to men and women to women. But
hmm
hey man, how you doing? What's going on? Oh, I'm just dealing with some things. What you dealing with? What's going on? Like how are you living or whatever? And when you get to know people relationally and you lead with love every time God is in the midst. He says, wherever two or more are gathered, there I am in the midst. And I love the fact that
hmm
I love watching, particularly men who are hard and we're living in the manosphere right now with all these podcasts or whatever. Open up and just be vulnerable and honest and be in a safe space for men like that. But I think that the other approach to veganism is a little harsh, and I don't know if it's so effective. I understand the shock and awe is there. I understand that like you're really rooted in, and I understand that it may feel like this is your life's cause, but I can't imagine that anybody's cause could be to judge, to make people feel inferior or whatever. But again, I don't hate them for doing it because I understand why they do it. But I think that the way we do it is more effective because as you've seen with my content and I see with your content, it's just about sharing the journey. It may not be as produced as I want it to be or as clean or even the message. Like I've been watching your stuff lately and I said, if that daggone Luis and gotten in his kitchen and is cooking, you're cooking. Remember, like a year ago, I told you, I was like, man, I would love to see like your meals, like how you, and now you got the meal coming out, the prep and other things coming out of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
oven, and then it's pop surprise. I'm loving it. But that's how you do it. That's how you win people over. All of this is to really proclaim how great life can be if you make slight adjustments, right? And if you are actually intentionally, because I know you see that I do a bi-weekly, every other week radio show. And the second episode of the radio show that we did was mindful eating. I didn't even know what that was. It's not being vegan or anything. It's just simply looking at your plate, thinking about what you're ingesting, thinking about every element of it, and like, okay, how is this gonna sit with me? Almost like Marie Kondoing your food. But
Yeah.
mindful eating is such it's a joyful event because when you're present in your life, when you're present with what you're doing in the moment, even when you're present with your faith and your kids or with the Lord or whatever, you always get like a more condensed, a more robust, a more wonderful feeling and experience, you know? I know I went all over the place, but that's just, how I roll.
No, yeah, no, totally. I totally get it. And I agree. I agree. It's those minor shifts that can have a profound impact on one's life. And it does matter how one approaches it. And just kind of circling back to what you're saying about the way we approach to how we
Yeah,
spread the message. To be honest, I wouldn't even be able to tell you what goes on or what kind of practices are being done at the factory farms because every time we got to that part of the video, I never watched it.
yeah.
I never did. I just
It's
and
hard.
to me, I vibe with the health
Yep,
because the health of the planet, the health of the
of course.
body, and all that benefits. But the one that I feel really speaks to me on the inside is the animals.
100%.
And
100%.
I never even to this day could sit and watch
No,
even a
it's too
second of
painful.
it. I just couldn't, and I just it makes me sad to think about what kind of and honestly, I feel like that's the most powerful reason for me following diet. Although it's the way I feel, the energy, and the spreading the message, and with
It's your
fitness
why. That
now,
is your why.
yeah, that is like
I was
one of
looking
my
for my cat.
big
He's not
whys.
there. Rocky's normally sitting right there. I was going to show him to you, but he's probably hiding because there's too much commotion going on right here. But
Yeah.
yeah, I totally fulfill you. I totally feel you.
Yeah, so that's one of the things, and I just can't. And so one of the things that an affirmation that I share that I say every morning is I'm loving towards others, including animals. So that's like
Yeah.
my thing, like people, because I'm a primarily around people, at work
Yo, you're
and
great
as
with
a
the kids. I
teacher.
see. I see you. Yeah, you're
Yeah, and so
really good with the kids.
I'm dealing with people every day, and even here at home, in a marriage and just our family, we don't live here. Our families don't live in Las Vegas. I'm living in Las Vegas right now with my wife. We've been out here since 2014, but
Ah.
our families are what, a 4 hour drive, Southern California. But
Oh,
all the people that we're with, our colleagues, we're primarily dealing with people, and so I just tell myself, I'm loving towards them and including animals, and so
yeah,
that's kind of where, for me, it's I guess my biggest why,
yeah.
biggest why, but still, it's funny that it's my biggest why, but it's not how I lead with sharing the message
That's
because I
what
don't
I'm
ever talk about it.
saying.
I don't ever
You
talk
can
about
be
the
passionate
animals.
about it, but again,
Yeah.
I think whenever you fall into even in the church, because I went from being a lay person, a minister, no, a lay person, deacon, minister, and I went all the way up the ranks. But it's like when you lead with judgment, it's not. If you see the fruit of judgment, it can never yield the harvest of love. And
Mm,
that's the problem I see with that in any regard. So I wanted to switch
mm.
gears just slightly and ask you a question. When you start working with people, like what are some, because I want to just share some information with what are some of the first things you look at? Because I know yours is mainly like weight reduction, right?
That's true. So it's primarily identifying the someone's number one like goal, what they want to do, and often it's weight loss. And because I know I'm geared towards that because that was my experience.
I know
I
essentially
mentioned
that was
earlier.
mine as well. The first thing that I wanted to do was look, I said the first thing, and now the current thing is vanity. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be that big, but now I'm small. I'm like, I wish my chest was just sticking out just a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
you know
hear
me,
you.
all
Yeah, that's
healthy.
actually where I'm at now too. I'm actually, I put on muscle compared
You
to how I
look
was
really,
before.
really good. That's why I always hit you up because I'm like, man, he's really getting. I see the gains, and I see
Yeah.
the lovely part. Oh my God, we could get into this and dig, but the greatest part about the vegan diet and how we build muscle is it's just lean and it's like it looks right. It looks positioned like I don't know if you did say you worked out back in the day. When you worked out back in the day and like I played football and I wrestled, you just carbo load, you'd eat whatever, like a whole bunch of bread, and you try to, just pack it in,
Hmm.
and you got big, but it was the fluffy big. You know what I mean? You could just kind
Yeah.
of touch it, and it was a little fluffy. But the vegan build is more like, I don't know, it looks just more solid and it's more cut. You can see the lines a little bit better, at least in my experience. I don't know what yours.
Yeah, I mean, coming from a fitness coach perspective, is yes, that's true if your nutrition is dialed in and you're able to see those muscles. Because when I first lost, I mentioned earlier, I lost over 50 pounds,
Yeah, it's a lot.
transitioning to vegan over in the beginning years. It was great. I felt great. I looked better than I had ever looked before, but I had still that like fluffy look. When I looked in the mirror, I'm like, there's still something missing here. Something
Because you
still
hadn't dialed
isn't
in your
right.
nutrition yet.
And there was still, even though it's a healthy vegan diet, there's still a way of going about, and this could be the case for when you're talking about on any diet, really. Any diet really can bring health and vitality to someone,
Uh-huh.
but it's got to be, dialed in and structured in a way that's gonna be toward if it's for a fitness goal, like you were saying, put on some chest muscles or
Yep.
shed some belly fat or whatever the case may be. It's got to be structured in a way that's going to support that goal, and that's where I've been. That's where I come from now. That's where I lead to in the coaching that I do is okay, your number one goal is weight loss.
That's
Okay, how
good.
much weight? Oh, 10 pounds, 20 pounds. Oh, you're trying to gain more endurance for, your hikes that you're doing or whatever. Everyone has different goals that they're pursuing.
Yep.
And it's not just, okay, well, now eat right, exercise, and here you go. It's like, okay, now the plan has to be structured for that specific goal that you have. So it really does
Ah,
make a difference. Yeah. So the weight loss versus the putting on muscles versus the gaining endurance on your runs or sport or whatever the goal, they each have their own little minor tweaks within the vegan sphere or
right,
any diet for that matter. But we're
right.
talking about vegan diet here. The little tweaks in that vegan diet that's gonna help towards that specific goal. And so that's where I kind of come in
So,
and
so
like,
we're
all right,
not
let's
wrapping
let's
up, but
dial
I
it in.
want you to mention this a couple of times. How can someone get in contact with you if they want to start their vegan journey as far as the fitness realm goes? Like, are you coaching everybody, or is there a specific type of person you coach?
Um, my bio says I help vegans get fit, but I've worked with people who are not fully vegan. They just want to do more healthy plant-based foods. Ideally, I would have a roster of just vegans, but I know if someone comes to me and they want help and they're genuine about it, but they're not vegan, I won't be like, oh no, you're not vegan, I can't help you, because I know that I'll be helping them
As a
eat more
person?
plant-based, eat
Yes,
more
yeah,
plant-based as a person too, not
right.
just because what they're eating, but overall I'll be helping them. And like I said,
Exactly.
maybe
Yes,
maybe in the
yes.
future it's planted a seed for them to be like, you know what? I have felt really great eating more plant foods. I think I'm gonna go fully vegan. You just never know. I hope I make that impact, even if I don't see it, that in the future this person transitioned. So yeah, primarily my the way we connected through Instagram.
Okay,
That's
and
the
it's your
way that
first last name at Instagram, correct?
yeah, it's my first name, Luis underscore, and then R Medrano. R is my middle name, my middle initial. Yeah.
Perfect. And then I'll definitely put that in the show notes as well. It's funny that you say that because I became vegan. Finally seeing a person of color that was vegan was my best friend. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go vegan." We did a church fast for I think it was 2 days. It was like a 2 day church fast. And then he's like, I'm gonna go vegan. He went vegan for like a month, and I was like amazed, like, oh my God, you went vegan and you didn't die. So those little seeds actually make a big difference, man. And now to this day, he looks at me, he's like, man, you look amazing. I'm like, you started it all. Because he did it and didn't, and then he did it and then he didn't. And it's just it's a whole I think for him it's a culture shift and it's a mindset shift because food, oh, we can talk about that as well. Food makes him happy. Food is like it's hard to explain because I was like that at one point. It was like if I was sad or if I was going through something, I could eat certain dishes that reminded me of mom or reminded me of home, and I would feel better. What do you feel about that philosophy? And do you think that that's a good thing, or it's like, are there better ways to think of it? Do you know what I'm referring to?
Absolutely. Now, there's a to a certain degree. I love this question because we were just talking about this
See,
yesterday,
look
my
at
wife and
God.
I.
Look how God lining it up.
Yeah, to a certain degree, I think it has its place where, like, for example, you're having a dish that your grandma used to make or your mom used to make, and it reminds you of her, and it just brings joy into your heart. Like, I get that, and that has its place. But a lot of times we use food as to comfort. We call it comfort food. Hey, there's your cat.
Yeah, there he
Hey,
is.
cool.
There he is. Uncle Sal. I'm like, where is he? He's right there.
Yeah.
I think.
Um.
Hold on,
So
sir.
yeah, 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 yeah. What's your cat's
Nope, nope.
name?
He ain't feeling it. He ain't feeling it. He's like, nope, I don't
Oh,
want to go. Go ahead.
yep. They got you. When it comes down to like using food as comfort, or like I'm really craving a large pizza, or I just want some
Ice
tacos, or do
cream.
you want to drown your feelings in food, and or I'm craving this and craving that. You're now fulfilling the flesh and not the spirit. And so we were talking about how going back to how the body is a temple. um what you're doing then is you're looking at the flesh, and we know that,
And you're
as
satisfying the
Christians,
flesh. You're being
yeah,
not just looking at it, you're looking at it and being led by it. And now the leading is resulting in this action that you're taking. But go ahead, continue.
yeah, exactly. And so it becomes about that only, about the physical only, and then that's stepping away from, hold on a second,
Ooh, that's good. That's good for even
you
me. That's
do,
good for even me.
yeah, you do have a physical body, but it's more than the physical. And if you want
Yeah.
to really honor it as a temple that it is, then right now, what you're doing is not, having a dish that reminds you of a childhood memory or of your parents or whatever. You're doing it because you just want to fulfill this fleshly, desire, which is that really gonna serve you?
And the thing
Take a
that's so
step back.
tricky about fulfilling that desire, like fulfilling any desire in that way, is like it's always temporal. It's like you said, is it really gonna make you happy? Is it really going to be like satisfying to your soul? Or is this a quick fix? It's a temporary. And then always with those quick fixes, right beneath them comes something else, and then the piper, as they say, will have to be paid.
Yeah, and you hear the mind is willing, but the flesh
The
is
flesh is
weak,
weak.
and we fall into it. It's okay. It happens. We're human. I
100%.
still here and there. I still do it. I'm like, I really want this. I really want that. I'm gonna have a double scoop today when I probably would have been okay with one or none. But
We've all done
we do it. We
it.
do it, and so. Um, I had a quote here, a verse that I wanted to share, First
Yes,
Corinthians
please.
6:20, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which
Yes.
are God's. So
Yes.
they're both a gift that were
That's
given to
good.
you. And so
Oh,
that
the
gift, you
body and the
got
spirit. I never thought about both of them. Where is that from?
First Corinthians 6:20.
First Corinthians 6. I'm gonna read that.
Yeah, glorify God in your body and in your spirit,
And in your
which are
spirit.
God. So they're both a
Yes.
gift. And so these are things that in the moment it's hard to take a step back and be like, hold on, am I really gonna honor, when you have your favorite whatever in front of you?
Wow.
But it's more so making a habit out of that, because if here and there, you indulge and enjoy yourself, and do it, enjoy. You're meant to enjoy
That's
yourself,
the thing.
in
Oh,
that
that was
way.
what I was trying to say earlier. Thank you so much, Luis. It's like I don't feel that I've lost anything in life by becoming a vegan. I don't feel like
Yeah.
I'm out of any club or any cliques, but I do feel like people who come to me sometimes talk to me. They don't want to be ostracized. They don't want to feel like the weirdo. Although it's acceptable in society right now, like to a degree. It's not like the Joe Rogan or the manly man, you know what I mean? Particularly men. Like it's not something that screams manly. It's not something that screams manhood. It's not something that's in culture aligned that way. But but it can be. It should be. You know what I mean? Because it is like when my family looked at me now, like my wife looked at me earlier. She's like, I said, okay, girl." You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's the result that you want. But that came from the way I'm eating and the way that I'm showing up in the gym and the way I'm showing up for them and the way I'm working out in not just my physical, but in my working out my own salvation with fear and trembling as well, you know? And they see
Right.
it. They see it.
Exactly. And going back to the manly thing is that those are the type of, influencers, teachers, educators, one of the types that I surround myself with because there very much is like you have some my very first coach that I hired a couple years back, vegan bodybuilder. I mean,
Yes, yes.
that's those two words people wouldn't think vegan bodybuilder. Don't
I follow a couple,
bodybuilders,
yeah.
yeah, and so that's a thing. There's
It is a
vegan
thing.
bodybuilders,
Yeah.
and there's many manly men out
Yeah.
there, quote unquote, who embody this
I
compassionate
wholeheartedly agree.
lifestyle. And it's not just, oh, I'm for the animals and I'm, a weak,
Yeah,
skinny vegan.
I did a post. I did a post a while back just because I thought it was funny because I get that a lot. Where I was hugging a tree, but it's not a bad thing, man. I take off my shoes, I ground myself, I walk in the forest, and I hug trees sometimes because therapeutically it helps my PTSD. It helps me feel like I am a part of the earth more than just serving somebody or serving a being, you know what I mean, on Sunday and not really having a lifestyle that's conducive to fulfilling the things that I just learned on Sunday, you know?
Absolutely. So the stereotypes, I'm all about grounding too.
Yeah,
Take
yeah.
me to the beach, take me to the park. I'm taking off my shoes. I'm putting
Hey, why not?
my feet to the grass.
That's it.
Absolutely. And it's not, we're not quote unquote hippies or,
Or weird.
weak vegans, weirdos. No, you just understand that there's different aspects of health.
Yes,
I like drinking
yes.
water. I like eating healthy food. Give me a salad, and I like being barefoot. I like doing yoga. Yeah, there's many ways to enjoy fitness and health, and there's no categories or labels. We're just gonna keep showing up, and that's kind of my main thing is to show up as my best self,
That's good.
and hopefully I get to inspire and motivate others to who are already vegan
Oh, you
or who are
already
thinking
are.
about
You
it.
definitely already are.
And maybe one day, they become vegan, or even I do that with with my students. I teach fifth grade, so I have a
Yeah, yeah,
bunch
yeah.
of 10, 11-year-olds, and we always talk about, and they're it's funny how they're so curious and they want to know
Always.
more, and
Yes.
I even have to be like, all right, guys, hold on, we got to move on, we got lessons to do, and
I'm
we can
gonna
talk
tell you
about this
something though,
later.
Louise. I'm gonna tell you why I think it is because lately I've gotten a whole bunch of questions and I'm like, because we just look good. And looking good is not like I'm looking a way to try to attract a woman. I'm talking about healthy. I'm talking about fit. I'm
Hmm.
talking about you said when you saw me, I'm glowing. My energy is like
Yeah,
out this world when I'm in certain rooms, right? But that's all because of two things. It's because of the Lord and where He centered me and grounded me, but also what I'm ingesting. Because my dad, I
yep,
love my dad, man, you know what I mean? But he was always tired. I don't ever remember a time where I saw my dad where he wasn't either tired or on the way to tired or sleep. Those are like the
right.
three main states I saw him in. And I just always honored him and loved it because he was a hardworking man. He took care of the family and all that. But I'm like, dang, I thought about to myself as a young man, is that all I got to look forward to in life? It's like just
Mm.
working hard and being tired because I'm not about that life, really.
Yeah, and I love what you said about the way we look and being an example and other people. You've probably gotten it like, oh, what are you doing? What's your routine? And one
Yes,
of the main things, of
yes,
course, is
yes.
is what I put in my body. What I'm eating. What are you eating? And but you're planting seeds, and you just never
Yes.
know what difference that's going to make. And so that's the main mission, and that I see myself as what I see myself doing online is planting those seeds, encouraging, inspiring, motivating, helping current vegans, new vegans, those curious, or those that just want to include more healthy food into their diet so that they can live better, feel better, and show up for their kids, their families, their work, and their goals in life.
I am listening to you, but I'm looking for the scripture because I had a point in my life where I was witnessing. I was so really demoralized because I'm like, man, none of these people coming to the Lord. What is happening, right? And I never forget Bishop Williams. She gave me this scripture. I'm looking it up, but you can keep going. I know you said that you just want to influence and love people. Another question that I wanted to ask you, and I kind of asked it before, but I'm gonna circle back to it. I know your wife is not 100% vegan. How does that work? I know how it works in my family, and then I'll go with that as well after you say something. But how does that work everyday cooking meals? Does she feel the pressure? I don't know if y'all have had those discussions before, or is it just like you're learning from her, she's learning from you, or it's just another part of your marriage? Go ahead.
Of course, no. When we're together, like living our everyday lives, she pretty much is 100%. It's mostly when two situations. One, when we travel, she's very much more open to, oh, we're traveling, I'm gonna try the local cuisine or whatever the
Right?
case may be. And two, when it's visiting family, either her family is visiting here or we're in California visiting, she's more open to, oh, my mom's making one of her dishes. And so but when we're here at home, there's never, hardly ever, I would say it's rare, but 99.9% of the time, our fridge is 100% vegan, our pantry's 100% vegan, and she's
I love
100%
that.
vegan. So there's no dealing with like, we do eat different meals because like certain whatever there's certain foods I like to do for my meal plan. She's like, I don't want that. I'm gonna do something different. But she keeps it vegan pretty much for
I
the most part.
love
So
it.
it's
I
ne
love
we
it. I
never
love, look, look,
we and I
look at
feel
that help
blessed
me.
that
That help me in there working,
yeah,
helping.
I feel blessed that I don't have to deal and we don't have to deal with like, oh well, what are you cooking? I'm having this and well this and she's not vegan and I am and we gotta figure it. When we go out to eat, how are we gonna do it? No, even when we go out to eat, like here in Vegas is like a vegan hub. There
Oh
are, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, 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 yeah. My
tons.
cousin
There's
used to
tons
live
of
in Vegas. He got
yeah, there's
options.
tons of
Yeah,
vegan options. So every time when we go out to eat, when we order in, it's like always vegan. I don't have to
I
deal with
love it.
like
I love it. So that's
but
too
it's
easy.
easy. It's easy in that
Yep,
sense. But for her, she's more flexible when we're traveling or
it's
when it's
easy because she
family.
makes
So
it easy.
yeah, yeah. And she's totally down with it.
I
She's
love
told
it.
me her experience with when she first did it when we met. She's like, yeah, it makes sense. And she did it and has never looked back too. But she's just more flexible.
I love it, man. I love it. So here's the scripture. I'm about to read it for you, man.
Oh, nice.
I need you to take this with you though. That's why I'm reading it to you because whenever you get discouraged, I don't think you are, but just really First Corinthians 3 and 6, it says, I planted Apollos, watering, but God gave the increase. And it's again 1 Corinthians, First Corinthians 3 and 6. It says, I planted Apollos, watered, but God gave the increase. Another translation, I planted Apollos, watering, but God gave the increase so that neither in no so neither is he planted anything, neither did he water of anything, but it was God himself who gave the increase. And the way that I understand that um is that I think sometimes that particularly as mentors, particularly as coaches, fitness coaches, whatever, we want to see the fruit of our labor. I mean, really it's that simple. But the nature of the business is really, and I didn't understand this, and that's why I started kind of getting to my little planting and my harvesting jam because even my little collards that I accidentally grew like last week was just so exciting. I thought it was, I don't know what I thought it was lettuce or something, but it just got mixed in there. I was like, what is this thing? Because it was yellow. So I'm gonna tell you the story about it because it's so cool. Then I'm not gonna hold you too much longer. But so I always plant like this season we're doing berries. So we have blueberries,
Nice.
blackberries. We had lettuce. I don't know if you saw my post, but the goddamn snails ate all my. I have romaine lettuce. I have
Oh,
4 different types of lettuce. The snails ate it all of it, man. I'm just so. Ugh. But anyway, I digress. So we got that. I think we did we plant orange? I don't know what we planted. No, but regardless, it wasn't collards. But God knew that seed was there, and then because I didn't attend to it, it was like a little yellow like nub, and I'm like, Lord, what is this? I said, you know what though, Lord, I don't know why, but I'm inspired. Let me try. Threw a little fertilizer on it, put a little extra water on it, a little extra
nice.
spritz and tension, and then that little one yellow seed started to turn a little green. It was just a little green, then greener, but it never turned like green, but then four more huge leaves like blossomed up. I don't know what the right terminology would be for that. But at the end of it, I had to chat GPT and still look, what the heck is this? Because it was like as big as my hand, like 5 big leaves.
Yep.
And when I saw that it was collards, I smiled because it reminded me of my grandmother. And just
Beautiful.
as we said earlier, those meals that they prepared made us think about them, the ones that may have not been that healthy, what about the seeds that we can harvest that were also a part of those meals, right?
Mm,
We should get
good point.
if it's about the person, if it's about the memory, it should still evoke the same emotion. If it's not just about feeling our flesh, because we're remembering
Mm.
them. So I was just smiling. I was smiling for days because I was like, Lord, I struggled with this little thing and I didn't even know what it was. And now you've provided the increase. And like my wife and I had a meal off of that. And it was just
Oh,
like
that's
one
awesome.
little seed. And that's so powerful. I think God is so amazing and how he talked about the mustard seed of faith and
Yep.
how one day it's going to be for nourishment and then the tree will grow and then the fowls can sit in its limbs and all the things that can happen. But I think it happens also with these small seeds of vulnerability, these small seeds of faith that we have in ourselves. Like I know, Luis, when you started, you were like, I don't know. I mean, you said you was all in, but I'm sure that there were some ups and downs. But now look at you, man. You're a fitness influencer that are changing thousands of lives over all these. Like you're in the Pacific, which man, that time zone, figuring it out. Thank you so much for doing it because I could. I'm like, I was so
Oh
confused.
no, thank you. It's like 11, what, 11:20,
I love
11:18,
it. I
something
love
like
it though. I
late.
love it. For this, I would not rather be anywhere else. This is
Oh,
awesome.
that's
Put the
beautiful.
baby
That's
to
beautiful.
bed, and
And
then
I
that's
love
it.
that message that you said about the God provides the increase. And absolutely. And
It
then that
does.
seed and the what really stood out to me, I want to point the evoking emotion. So it's a new emotion essentially. So I feel that like, for example, from this point on, whenever you see a collared leaf,
Yes,
not the dish
just
that you used
believe.
to eat as a
Just
kid,
believe.
but just the leaf or even the
Yes,
seed, that's going to evoke the
it
emotion as it
will.
would if you had that
Yes.
dish that you used to eat when you grew up. And
Yes.
that's wow, that's I never saw it that way, and I think that's a beautiful way to go about it. And that kind of addresses the all these comfort foods that I used to eat growing up. I'm gonna miss that. Well, what you're really saying is you're gonna miss the emotion and feeling when you had that food, which
Come
can
on
still
now.
be
Come on now.
which
You're
can,
getting
which can still
good.
be brought out
Yes.
in other ways. And I never
Yes.
saw it until what you just said right now. Really, like that's the way.
Because
It's the
that's the
emotion.
thing. And that's the getting deeper. And I think, going back to faith, I love my faith. I absolutely do. But I would love to see in the universal church an evolution to what I'm gonna call a whole human ministry approach. Like we're very good at talking about the gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and hell and
Hmm.
damnation. But what about Nicodemus? You know what I'm saying? What about someone who's on a horse, who's riding, and a guy just talks to them about life, and they're conversing. And if you read that scripture, he's not looking down on him. He's not condemning that guy. He's not saying, "Oh, you're." He's like, "Hey, some of these answers I don't even have." But you know what? I can tell you where you can get these answers. I'm
Mm.
like, why don't we lean more into that as well? Because it's again going back to what you said about the vegans and the slicing of the throats and the killing of the animals or whatever. That may have served its place in a time, but for the time such as this, we don't have to be cooler to actually relate. We just have to say, man, listen, I understand you have emotions. I understand that you're hurting or you're in need of whatever. I'm not gonna judge you. Let's talk about this gospel and how we can walk out salvation together. Because I too, as the minister, am flawed. I too, as the pastor, have not arrived, believe it or not. I too
Mm.
have my whole circle that I have to talk to on a regular basis about the things that I'm falling short on. You know what I mean? And that's just, I don't know. I would love to see that approach, because like I said, I've seen
Yeah.
it at every level, and I've seen every level of sin too. And I'm like, why can't we just talk about this with the congregation? Because I think it would be helpful, but we're so
Yeah.
afraid to be unearthed or unmasked, I will say. You know what I mean? And we're holding up this pretense that I think is a little dangerous, if I'm being honest. And that's
You
not
used a
every church.
word.
That's not every church, but that's quite a few in a universal church, I will say.
Yeah, I see that. And you used a word earlier, vulnerability, being
Vulnerability, yep.
vulnerable, and how that is it is a difference maker and not always wearing this
Like this is what
mask.
we're
Because
doing right
we
now, Luis. And
yeah,
I told you, man, I'm a little fat here. That was the first conversation we had. And I'm like, I felt so free and I was so thankful that you were a safe space for me to talk about those things. And now I'm
yeah.
doing all the better because of it.
Yeah, exactly. And you never know what kind of difference you can make in someone's life because you opened up and because you were actually just I was telling you earlier that my wife joined a step
Step
challenge, a
challenge. Yeah, yeah,
cause.
yeah.
She got to do 100 miles in 100 days is the thing, right? And
Wow, a
so
real? So she's
what
stepping.
yeah, so a mile a day for
Bro,
the next 100 days basically or more. But anyways, it was one of her church sisters who
fantastic.
posted a vulnerable post on her personal page talking about how she wasn't happy with her body and her health.
Wow.
And my wife was like, I could not believe it when I read it because she's just glowing. And when I see her at church, you wouldn't think that she does not like her body. And because she was vulnerable,
Come
because she
on.
opened up,
Come
that
on.
led to my wife reaching
Yes.
out to her and asking
Yes.
her these questions about, and now
Yes.
look, and now she's doing something good for her health too. Because someone chose to be vulnerable and open up, and it's not just us as men, it's godly men, and it's got to be an avenue of communication that we take, even though it might be hard, and sometimes we just might not be the most comfortable with it, but it's got to be a way that we approach the way we communicate our message in order to make an impact on one person, 10 people, 1,000 people, just make an impact.
Man,
Yeah.
look at that. You're wrapping it up really well. Excellent, excellent, excellent. But I want to say one more point before we wrap up because we're getting into the
Yep.
hour and I don't want to keep you longer than an hour. That's what I said to
Oh, no worries. It's late for
myself
you,
and my
not for me.
wife and everybody. But what what message would you give to a man, particularly a man, because I don't know, I have a soft spot because what I do every day is I talk to men about education and their future and things like that. And what I find so interesting, and I wanted to ask you, so I'll ask you this question, then you can kind of close with the last thing I said as well. Um, do you see any commonalities in the men that you work with, men specifically? I know you work with everyone, but men specifically, because the commonality I see most times is if they didn't have examples, they don't know the questions to ask. And before, I was really just, man, I'm like, bro, do you not like know what you, how do you not know what you want? But as I start digging, and just a couple of them were, as we use that word again, vulnerable with me and told me their stories, I was like, oh man, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you didn't have the language to ask the question. But you showing up
Mm,
here is basically the question. Like, I need you, I need help. And they don't even know how to say that sometimes. And then I basically like guide them on this educational journey. But I'm sure you've had that from a fitness influencer's perspective. So I'm asking like, do you have a common question that has been asked of you? And answering what I'm trying to do is answer the unasked question because I want those who have questions that they have not asked to feel safe, and I also want those to those that don't know how to ask the question know what it looks like to have the help that you and I both provide in the community. I don't know if that even
yeah,
makes sense, but I tried to
yeah, no,
articulate it best I could.
absolutely. And the right questions are like the basis of a successful conversation that I have, whether it's going to be through DMs or when we get on Zoom calls like this. It's me as someone who's like say doing a fitness assessment is asking the right questions and then being quiet and listening.
Oh,
Because, for example, if you and I were right now we're having a fitness assessment, I would have questions that I need to that it's about me asking the right questions to
to get
evoke
those answers.
emotion, not just answers, but deep answers, not just surface level, but I gotta be the one who's skilled in asking the question so that if you do give me a surface level answer, I need to dig deeper because to make real lasting change, surface level wise are not gonna make it work. And so if I see that, for example, you're a
Talking good, you
man
talking good though.
you're a man who opened up and gave me some deep emotional response. I'm not talking about you sharing your whole life story if we just met and we're talking here on Zoom
Right,
online.
right, right.
But if you're opening up and you're sharing me how it's making you feel and the way you see yourself and you know how you feel on a daily basis, how you show up with your attitude and you're really opening up, then I know that not only are these questions helping you that I'm asking you, but you're gonna be an amazing fit, an amazing someone, a amazing person who's gonna make great change for your own life. Now, if you're just giving me surface level stuff, I'm gonna be open and honest with you and say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna tell you right now. Perhaps right now it's not the right time because
Good.
I don't see much. I don't see a deeper why coming from you, and I'll
Good.
be open
Yes,
and
yes.
honest and say that. think about the questions that I've asked you, and when you can dig a little deeper, then that'll. I'm just gonna tell you and be honest with you. If you do want lasting change, it comes down to really looking at those questions and deciding how you're gonna really go inside to answer those
That's
questions.
good. So
Dig deep.
I think what you're saying is like it requires more introspection before the question is even asked. Because if you've not thought to yourself, then any work or any advice I could give, because I agree with that as well with coaching, is like anything that I can do for you will never stick and will never, as the Bible talks about, get deep roots. It'll be shallow roots that'll just be picked off by the birds or just fall over and die. That's
Hmm.
good. That's good. That's very, very good. I like
Yeah.
that.
So the right questions. Where did I hear it? It was. I don't remember who said it, but the right questions can change your life because you
Yeah.
really have to look at the answers for them, and sometimes those answers can be very eye-opening, and it does come down to really digging deep to find the right answer for to answer those questions and ask yourself the question, even if it's a simple question like, is this going to serve me? Sometimes that'll stop you from doing something you know you shouldn't do, or move forward with something you know that might be uncomfortable,
Come
but
on.
hey, be comfortable with being uncomfortable because it's going to level
Hey,
up your lives. Yeah.
100%. I think the two best quotes going from the last thing you said too that I've ever heard were question everything. I love that quote. Question everything. That's the thing that got me in the most trouble at church and at school. But you know what? It led to me having a deep understanding. Like nobody can ever debate the Bible with me ever because I have a deep and intimate understanding of the Bible. Like the word is in my heart. Like when I talk about
Yeah.
Brother Thomas and his journey, I understand it. I am nothing like him because I'll be quite honest. I don't know if I would dedicate my life to just the Lord like so. I admire it though. That's why I read it every year. Be like I picked this up, Lord, and is it fulfilling to you for me to have this in my hand right now? Because I know that this is a righteous hand and this is attached
Mm.
to a righteous vessel, and I'm so thankful.
Mhm.
And I mean, wow, you know what I'm saying? But
Absolutely.
but the understanding that I do have, right? And the love that I do have, and the understanding of how God has moved through my life and remembering in my worst times how he's always there for me is why I can't be debated because that's my truth. And that's my lived truth, and I love it. But I never thought about like how it begins at the beginning and the thoughts that go behind that. But it's introspective. It's introspective
Yeah.
thoughts and being able to ask those questions. And even when it's uncomfortable, I think that's the thing that gets people a lot of times. They don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to not know. I don't want to feel stupid. But you know
Right.
what? In life, we always gonna have that. That's just how life is, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well said. I love
Luis,
that.
do you have anything else to say in conclusion? Man, I'm blown away that this moment is finally coming. I'm so thankful. I'm grateful because dude, you're a dope guy, man. And I'm not people get me wrong, Luis, because they think that I'm like almost like a weirdo or like a super fan or something like that. But you know what it is? It's like I am so thankful and grateful for the life that God has given me. Luis, at some
Mm.
point, I slept in a freaking skating rink, man. I tried to get in there the other day. It's on Vogelway, but I can't get in there because it's condemned building now. And the way that happened is I had a roommate. I live here in Germany. We were living in Los Angeles, my first apartment. Every night he was going, I was like, I don't know what he's doing. I'm trying to pay my bills. I'm trying to, do my little college. I ain't have no wife or nothing. I'm just a guy making 9.50 an hour, going to college, barely affording it, and just trying to live a life, right? And he's having fun doing whatever. I knew he had come off of a divorce. I didn't know he was an alcoholic though. So he was going every night. And it was his apartment. He was subletting it to me. So I was paying my little 450 € every month. And I'm like, man, what are these things? Because I couldn't read German at the time that are piling up. They look like bills. So I don't know. Every night, every night he'd go out drinking, and then he got into a point where he couldn't afford to drink anymore. He was still kind of like running up all of these tabs, and every morning, like clockwork, on the weekends they would bring all of these bills. So long story short, one day I go to the house and I can't get in. I said, key not working. What is happening?
Mm.
We locked out. I'm like, oh, we not locked out. I've been paying my bills every month on time for the last year and a half. So I don't know how maybe but he's gone. He's gone. And then I finally
Wow.
got an apartment. I'm like looking. he had like it was very depressing. It was like bottles everywhere, look, blow up air mattress. And this is like, I was 25. He must have been like 32. So I looked up to this guy. So we get evicted, and I had just gotten a job as a manager of the skating rink called Skate Express. And I was living in that thing for like 90 days until I saved up enough money to start again. So ever since that I had that experience, I'm like, man, God, I'm so thankful for every encounter and every person you allow me to meet and every like step. I live in a house now. I'm on the middle level. My wife's on the top level with my daughter. We have a lower level as an apartment down there. There's a sauna there. We have a fitness room and another room. But I don't say any of that to boast, but it's like, I know what it means to be in a struggle. Like
Yeah.
every paycheck counts, every dollar counts, everything has to be like, and now I'm so joyful. I'm so grateful, but I think it comes off kind of weird to some people. But so I said all that to say, when I say I'm really grateful, when I say I really appreciate your time, when I say I really, really am honored to like be in your presence and to be in commune and to have you reciprocate that, like it really does mean a great deal to me. It really does.
Thank you, thank you, and I reciprocate that too. Grateful for the opportunity, amazing to chat, and I want to kind of give you something to end with here. You mentioned
Please.
in your email the last point here, the last
Yes.
bullet point. You said the connection between inner healing, faith, and fitness. I'm like
Yes.
all those are like related and connected, right?
Yes,
They're all part of
they
it. That
are.
um, 3 John 1:2.
Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Just kind of
ooh, ooh.
finish with the verse here, right?
Yes, of course, of course. I love it. I'm
Because
gonna
it
go
kind of
back to
brings
it.
that healing, faith, fitness. It kind of brings it all together, and I love the words here. It says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." And
Ooh, amen.
it's it kind of sums it all up here because we're talking about faith, we're talking about fitness, we're talking about health, and they are all intertwined. It's all there's
Love
not
it.
one more. It's all they're all. I mean, the foundation for me is the Lord and God's love, and seek first the kingdom of God and His
Yes,
righteousness is
yes.
above all else.
100%.
Um, but with that you have healing, you have fitness, you have health, and all that is part of it. And prosper in all of it. You're meant to prosper in all of it, and I think that's a good message to kind of end this year with.
Thank you for joining us on the Wholeness Way podcast. Keep in mind that by healing our bodies through ancient natural practices, we're also contributing to the healing of our planet. Let's work together to create a greener, cleaner, and more balanced world. Here's to our continued journey of inner and outer healing. God bless, and we hope you'll join us again in the next episode.